Good morning, everybody. As we go to the Chitas of today, today is Thursday. It's the fifth reading in the portion of Tazria. Continue in the law of Nega Tzedas. We are holding on chapter 13, verse 29. A man and a woman has a lesion on the head or in the beard area. How she says, scripture comes to distinguish between the lesion placed where the hair grows and a lesion that's placed on the flesh. Namely, that in one case on the flesh, the sign of uncleanliness is the white hair, while in the other case, on the area of the hair, the sign of uncleanliness is a golden yellow hair. Verse 30, it's a nega, the kohen will see the lesion. And behold, its appearance is deep in the skin. Bar say it's sovduk, and there's like a golden yellow hair in this lesion. The tima kohen, and the kohen will make him impure. Neseku, it is a nesek. Tzedas harosh hazaken, this is the tzedas of the head or the beard. Now she says the meaning is that the black hair that has turned yellow. Nesek, what's a nesek? This is the name of a lesion. The tzedas, when it occurs in the area of skin where the hair grows, is called a nesek. Verse 31, v'chira kohen es nega nesek. When the kohen sees the nesek lesion, and he behold, its appearance is not deeper than the skin. And there is no black hair in it. The kohen will put away, will quarantine this guy for 7 days. What means there's no black hair? Thus, if there was black hair inside, he is clean and does not require quarantine. For black hair in a nesek, this again, this is a law that is connected to tzedas of a spiritual thing, has nothing to do with your physical ailments over here. So if there's a black hair inside it, he is clean and does not require quarantine. For black hair in a nesek is a sign of cleanliness. As the verse says, if black hair has grown in it, the nesek is healed. And the kohen will look at this lesion on the seventh day. And behold, that the nesek has not spread. And there was no golden hair in it. And behold, that the appearance of the nesek is not deeper than the skin. Thus, if the nesek did spread, or if golden hair is in it, then it will be unclean. Then he shall shave himself. He shall shave himself. But the adjacent to this nesek, he shouldn't take away the hair. And the kohen will quarantine this nesek for another 7 days. Ask you, what means it's galach? Shave around the nesek. Shall leave 2 hairs close to it, around it, in order that if any spread of the nesek will be discernible. So that if it spreads, it will pass the hair and go into the shaven area. Go into the shaven area. Okay, that's a nesek, and the kohen will look at this nesek on the 7th day. Nesek, and the nesek has not spread. But it's not deepened in the skin. The kohen will make him pure. And he'll immerse his garments, and he'll become clean. Now she says, from here we know that only that the lesion is pronounced unclean if it spreads after it's dismissed. How do we know that it's unclean if it spreads at the end of the first week of the quarantine or the end of the second week of the quarantine? Because Torah says, it spreads, denoting that he's unclean if it spreads in any case. Verse 36, again, if the kohen looks and he sees, behold, the nesek has grown, but the kohen has not to worry about it. He doesn't have to come back again. Let's say it's to come examine it. If the nesek grows, then he's tamehu, he's impure. Verse 37. If it appears that the nesek has remained the same, and not only that, but it's actually black hair has grown in this nesek. Nipah nesek, the black hair shows that the nesek is pure. Torhu, he is pure. V'tir hakayin, and the kayin will call him tor. Now, is that how we know that even yellow or red hair, which are not golden yellow, because Torah says v'sheyer shachar and black hair, but here the meaning or if black hair, instead of using the expression oy or, the Torah uses the exclusive term, which comes to include yellow and red hair. If the nesek as a sign of cleanliness, just like black hair. And that's the word, the term tzahav means resembling appearance of gold. Tzahav is the same as zahav, golden hair. Golden color or pale gold. Tarhu, but an unclean person who the kohen pronounced clean is not clean. Tarhu v'tira kohen. Because once the kohen got involved, now he has to make sure that it's takator. He can't just say it's pure, right? The kohen, as we learned before making something impure or questioning it, the kohen has the power to push it off. But over here, once the kohen got involved, now the kohen, if something is impure, the kohen cannot make it pure. He has to know that it's pure taka. Yes, if he doesn't know the laws of tzadas, he has to have a rabbi next to him that will tell him the laws of tzadas. Verse 38. If a man or woman has spots on skin of their flesh, white spots. Beheaded, she says spots. Beheaded is spots. Verse 39. The kohen shall look, and behold, there are dim white spots on the skin of their flesh. Barakhu, this is a pigmentation. Parach bird that's spread in the skin. Taharhu, this is not a tzadas. Now she said the whiteness is not bright but dim. Boyik, like the whiteness that appears in the flesh of a red man, is called ra'as, russo, between the areas of redness, flesh color. This white pigmentation is called bohak, just like a freckled man with skin between the freckles and the other shines brightly, mavik, with pure whiteness. So that's not Seiras. That completes the Chumash for today. We're going on the Tanya of the day. We continue in chapter 39 of Tanya. So the Alter Rebbe proceeds to amplify his previous statement that in essence, that there's a person, when a person does a mitzvah, the best way to do the mitzvah, even if you're limited in your knowledge, is to do the mitzvah with kavanah, to the best of my ability intellectually, to have some kavanah when I do the mitzvah, because that's where I connect to the Olam Habriyah. If I have kavanah even in my mind, so I waken up a concept within my mind, within my heart, Avas Hashem, even if it's an intellectual Ava. I'm not a tzaddik who can have a true Avas Hashem of the true emotion of the heart. I have an intellectual emotion. Still, I connect to the Olam HaYetzirah. If I do it without kavanah, just for the sake of my natural being, because that's what I do. I'm a Jew. I don't understand it. Do it because I'm a Yid. I have a chelik elakam in Mount Mamish. I'm a Jew. I have a godly soul, and I do what is right. So I still elevate my neshama. If I do it for no reason whatsoever, Pashut, no reason. I have no comprehension, no concept. I don't care. I'm just doing it. I don't even think about it. What I'm doing, such a person is mitzvahs don't leave this world. Alter Rebbe says, stuck in the world. Hainus Alter Rebbe explains this, goes further into this explanation. this inability of one's divine service to ascend to the spheres Elyonos, to the upper spheres that are in the worlds of Bria and Yitzhak, and even the world of Asiya, applies not only to one who's motivates, not only where one's motive for engaging in Torah mitzvahs is actually shalei lishma, not for their sake, total, not for the sake of a mitzvah. I'm not even doing it because I'm a Jew. I'm not doing it. I'm doing it begrudgingly, totally begrudgingly. Is for some ulterior motive, God forbid. In which case, one actually is serving himself, not God. And a service surely cannot ascend to stand before God. It also applies even if, as the verse describes a person, their fear for me is like commandments of men drawn by rote. God says, they don't serve me with their mind. They don't serve me with their heart. They're serving me because that's the nation. Like they put the pants on in the morning. So that's their service to me. They're doing it out of rote. Basically, out of human nature. Nothing involved at all. Pirush machmas hergel, meaning that one's service to God is out of habit. Acquired from his youth. Thank God. He was brought up in a Jewish home. He does it. He doesn't even know why he's doing it. He doesn't think about it. Has been trained and taught by his father, the rabbi, and his teacher, to serve God, to fear God. He doesn't know why. He doesn't think about God. This is what he does to serve him. And he doesn't not really do it for the sake of, he does nothing. He doesn't know what God is. He doesn't know what the Yiddishkeit is all about. He does it because that's the way he's been taught. Because l'shma mamish, for it's impossible to serve God to l'shma, he cannot serve God for the sake of God's name without arousing one's natural fear of love. The natural fear of love. I'm a Jew. He thinks that he's a Jew. He knows that he's a Jew. He knows that he has to do this what God wants. To bring them out from the concealment of his heart into revelation, even if in his mind at least, in the latency of his heart. So if one cannot arouse his natural love of God to the point where it actually felt in his heart, he must try, as discussed above, to arouse at least so that's felt in the conscious mind and in the subterranean of his heart. Even this low-level arousal can produce a will and resolve to study Torah and fulfill mitzvahs. Thus, the resulting divine service contains at least some degree a force and kavanah of his natural love, since it's this love that created the resolve which is now implementing. So you have to create some aspect. A human being was given a brain to think before he does. So if he does think before he does other things, why wouldn't he think before he does a mitzvah? Before he makes a bracha, he should know what he's saying. Think about it a second. Who are you making a bracha to? If, however, one does not produce even a minimal amount of arousal, the love, although naturally found in his heart, has no bearing on his divine service, has nothing to do with him. And he can, therefore, do this service lishma, for its own sake. It's all basically ulterior motives in what they're doing. Just as one does not do something for his fellow to carry out his friend's will, unless he loves him, he fears him. So people do things for others, total selfish reasons. Has nothing to do with the other person. And a person can be kind because he's a kind person, not because he cares about not because he really thinks about somebody else. He's just a kind individual. That's his human nature. He's a kind person. Baruch Hashem. But ultimately, is he thinking about the other person? Believes the Kadim is said Avos Virasa Klal B'Meicha Mashatu Lib Al Kapon. I'm a Kachi Eshel Lasel Shmoyis Baruch Bemis. The Mamas in Avos. So it's impossible to carry out truly for God's sake solely in order to carry out his will. Believe Lizka L'Tzadis Avayada B'Klal. Unless he remembers. If you want to think about God, and hopefully you're doing the mitzvah for the sake of God, so then you have to think about God for a second. A Jew needs to think about God once in a while. He has to have a thought about HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And if you have a thought about God, then it has to waken up something in your mind at least that you will love. You're doing it for God. You're doing it as a lover. You love the Eibishter, or you fear the Eibishter, whatever it might be. In his mind, thought in the Latin levels of his heart, at least, if you can arouse these emotions openly in his heart. One who observes the mitzvahs out of habit, however, lacking even the minimal arousal of love, cannot be described as serving God for his sake, even though his performance is impelled by no ulterior motives. Furthermore, the arousal of love alone, without the arousal of at least the lower level of God hidden in the heart of a Jew, is not called service. It's not called service. It's basically natural. Something that's nature is not a service. Thank God that God gave you a good nature. Thank God that you were brought up in a certain kind of a home. It has nothing to do with you. It has to do with the home that you were brought up in, the education that you were given. Thank God. You have to thank the Eibishter. You have to thank God that God gave you. You were born in a certain house and in a certain environment. It has nothing to do with your service. It's a service to somebody else. So you got to thank your parents, what they gave you. The Eibishter wants human being service. God does not interested in what the talents he gave me. God wants to see the talents what he gave me, what I do with them. So therefore, when you say to serve God, then you have to think about it a second. A human being needs to think about it. What means that I'm going to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu? That's why in the synagogues it says on top of the ark, know before who you stand. You got to think about it a second. What are you coming? When you come to Shul to daven, who you come to daven to? What are you coming to pray for? Who are you coming to pray for? Who are you standing in front of? Person has to have some aspect of reverence. Some aspect of reverence, respect. So when you do a mitzvah, you do it out of respect of God. You do it out of respect of love of God. There's some thought in the process. If not, so it's not your service. So you're just a facilitator. You're just thank God you're there that you can do it, but it has nothing to do with you. It has to do with either your God-given talent or your education. Thank God you got a good education. But what are you? What is your involvement? Nothing. So as the Alter Rebbe continues, self-understood. You can be ultimately a maisu ike. Thank God we're good people, and we do good things, and we do good things between man and man and man and God. But self-understood, if we want the mitzvah to elevate itself, to connect to the spiritual world, there needs to be some spiritual involvement. There needs to be some spiritual involvement, and the spiritual involvement is one's kavanah, is one's a little thought, and before he does it. And that's why they made brachas mitzvahs. The rabbis established brachas, all brachas, especially of mitzvah, is a drabanan. The rabbis established the blessings. So these blessings are all there that a person should stop for a second even and understand that he's doing the mitzvah for the sake of God. He's not only doing the mitzvah because that's what he's used to doing. Every morning he puts on tefillin. That's what he does. So I put on a pants. I put on my tefillin almost. So my shalom, I compare my tefillin to my pants, but I don't make a bracha when I put my pants on because there's no mitzvah to put on pants, even though that I do it anyway. But putting on tefillin is a mitzvah. It's not just that's what I do every morning because that's the way I was brought up and that's what I was taught to do. No, I have to think about it for a second even. Stop for a moment. Think what you're doing. Think what I'm doing. that I'm doing it. I'm doing it for the sake of God. This is a mitzvah to the Eibush, whatever it means to me. That's why it's important, even in halacha, to know what you're saying. And that's why in the Siddur they give you the English translation, because it's important to know the bracha. Sometimes we could say a bracha also on the road. We don't even know what we're saying. We're just saying a bracha. We don't even know what we're saying. Stop for a second. Know what you're saying. Understand what you're saying, and automatically, if there's a thought, it creates some kind of reverence to the concept. So I understand that the mitzvah I'm doing God's command. Imagine the Eibishter commanded me to put on tefillin. So I'm doing the wishes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That creates some kind of reverence to God, whether it's a love to do God's wish, whether it's reverence and awe of God or fear of God, whatever in the word you want to use. But ultimately, there's a reverence to it. There's an importance to it. So too, when it comes to somebody else, doing a favor to somebody else, self-understood, if there's some kavanah in it, I'm involved in helping that person, and the person feels it also that I'm involved. Not that I just did it out of because I had to do it, or this, I'm no interest in the person, just an interest in myself. And Alter Rebbe will continue, but here the Tanya ends in today. Chitas. Today is the third day of the month. In Tillim, it's chapter 18 to chapter 22. If you do those 5 chapters, you've done the Chitas of the day. And in Meitz Hashem, I invite you all at 10 o'clock. In Meitz Hashem, we'll continue with the Sikh of the Rebbe on the portion of the week. And we'll continue to learn 10 a.m. either at Chabad or on Zoom, Torah Direct, wherever you want to come. Have a wonderful and beautiful day. And Meitz Hashem, we'll see you all tomorrow, 8 o'clock. We'll continue the Chitas of the day.